Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Retention Chronicles. I am so excited for our episode today. Kim, thank you so much for making the time. I know we briefly met at Shop Talk, and that conference is so crazy in all of its wonderfulness. And I caught you right as you were coming off stage after giving your panel, discussion. So I'm happy that it's a month or two after the conference. Things have settled down for me. Tell us how it's been for you since the last time we spoke and say hello to our audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself, do all the things.
Yeah, so I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Mariah, for the invitation. Coming off the Shop Talk stage was invigorating. It was a lot happening. Shop Talk is just such great energy, but it's a lot happening, right? But this year my voice was elevated on stage during a panel conversation talking about the volatile retail environment that we are in and how to sustain and move through it. And so I was kind of coming off the stage feeling almost like I had kind of gotten some stuff off my chest as a indie founder and beauty owner of a clean color cosmetic company and makeup line. There has been so many changes, rapidly changing within the past year to 2 years. And so I just finally felt like I get to speak on it. And so I got a chance to do that. But meeting you was great, and getting to come here today and share will be very good. But I'm Kim Roxie, Kimroxie, founder of LAMIK Beauty.
I love it. I love it so much. And I know I walked away from your panel and so many other panels of just like, okay, this all makes so much sense. And there's so many ideas here, but also there's so many things on the to-do list now where it's like, oh my God, I have to look into this. And so I know I walked away being very impressed yet again by the conference and the quality of everyone who was there. So thank you for being here. Have you always felt like you're an entrepreneur and wanting to have your own brand or business? Obviously, you're in the beauty space. So have you always kind of felt yourself pulled to that arena? Or how did you kind of arrive at the seat that you're sitting in today?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I truly know if I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. To be honest, I just realized I was around entrepreneurs when I was growing up just recently.
That's cool.
I was in an interview and someone asked me about some of the first entrepreneurs. This was within the past couple of years, what have you, like the first entrepreneurs I knew. And I thought about it and I was like, oh my gosh, my piano teacher was an entrepreneur. She had students, she had a business. The word entrepreneurship wasn't introduced till way later, but I didn't really understand. I had been around them that whole time. And so for me, I actually became an entrepreneur at 21. And so I started with my own makeup and eyebrow shop in the mall in Houston, Texas, a mall called Sharpstown Mall. And Houston is the fourth largest city in the country. And so this was not some little small pond I was swimming in, but to me, it was just me creating a space where women could get their makeup done who had been overseen or looked over by the beauty market. And me as a dark-skinned woman, to the beauty industry, I had totally felt overseen, like overlooked. And so not seen enough. And so I wanted to create a place where people felt seen and they get their eyebrows done. I had got my aesthetics license. And so I had just graduated from Clark Atlanta University. And as soon as I graduated, I opened up my makeup shop. So this has been 21 years, me as a full-time entrepreneur in the beauty industry. Who would have known? So it sounds like, it sounds like a person who always knew they wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's just that almost like how some people get married young, or some people have, or start a hobby young or whatever. It's just that I started a business at a young age. And the result that you see right now is just a person who quit sometimes, because I did quit sometimes mentally, I quit.
And that's realistic, right? Like,
right. But you're just looking at someone who continued to still wake up and put one foot in front of the other, even, in my own quitting sort of mode in some ways. But we went from having a makeup shop in a mall doing eyebrows to, in March 2020, launching a national e-commerce first clean makeup line. And it is made up of products like the Revelation Brow Duo, which is a brow powder that you put in your eyebrows with a concealer. And it comes in all different shades. My whole makeup bag is sitting right here.
Then it's perfectly located for a podcast.
Then we have our lip glosses. This is a very popular color. It's called Iconic. Then we have, now for the season that we're in, Influential. This color is gorgeous. It's called Influential. Highly recommend. And then we have our mascara that's made from more natural and organic ingredients. And to be honest, nobody has really tried this, like knock on wood, and said that it caused any irritation. What we're known for is being able to use our makeup and not being irritated, use our makeup and not feeling like it's too heavy and those kind of things. LAMIK is that. LAMIK is a brand that's inclusive. So all shades of women can wear it, but we're known for our brow products. We're known for those eye makeup products because I actually diagnosed with a form of alopecia and I use the brow duo to fill in my brows. And it has just, my transparency has become our platform.
Yeah. And I think that is so powerful. Like, I know I'm not alone in that, right? I know as a consumer, when I put my consumer hat on, I love seeing a founder who is like, this is the brand. This is why I wanted this built in this way. That's why I want it to be clean beauty, because I want it to be, it doesn't irritate my skin. You can wear it for a long time and use it on your skin and not have it disrupt your habits or bother you with sensory issues or any of the things. And I think that it is, I relate to not kind of having like almost a vocabulary around entrepreneurship, but then understanding later in life what that really is and how central it is to our economy and everyone that you meet growing up. And those are perfect examples of people down the street or piano teachers. And I kind of had a similar realization where entrepreneurship was not in our household. And so it was more, a newer term for me. And a lot of it has been in parallel with e-commerce because that is such an entrepreneurial focused industry. But it is cool to kind of look back and say, oh my God, wait, I actually have had these habits of being entrepreneurial. And for you, it sounds like to have graduated and then launched your own store immediately or really close to have graduating. If it's been, 21 years, then that is powerful because that is, yeah, those retail shops. I mean, in Houston, I grew up in New Jersey and it was every weekend you were at the mall with your friends, right? And so to be in a huge city where I grew up in like a 1 mile town, right? So like for us, the mall was a place to go. I can only imagine in a huge city how much more of an influence that retail had over so many lives. And that's so cool. So tell us 2020, when in 2020 did you make the decision to go into e-commerce? Was it before COVID hit or after? Was it kind of like in parallel? Because I've seen that transition, of course, where people were like, oh God, we gotta, switch something in the business because of how we've run previously and where we want to go.
Yeah. So for me, it was more of a prefix. So in 2004, I opened up that makeup and eyebrow shop. I ran it up until 2018. 2018, I took the bold move of closing it. It was fully functioning, had a clientele, it was all good. But I was like, the makeup that I had been using on my clients there, I was like, we got to launch this nationally. Like right now, it's local, it's regional, it's the things. I was like, this needs to be launched as a solidified national beauty brand.
Yeah.
And I closed the store because I was like, it has to feel like the whole thing had to get like shut down, like and just feel the emergence of this new thing and this new way and this new business model, everything. And I had to do that. So, but I was poised to do it for March 2020, believe it or not.
My God. Timing, my God, right?
But when I think about it, it was perfect timing.
Yeah.
Not perfect circumstances in the world,
Yeah.
perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
So and this happened to me before, and it happened to me this time, is that where it feels tumultuous around us, but the timing is perfect for me. And so it kind of reminds me of right now, even, right? And what I was speaking about on Shop Talk. It's like, it's tumultuous, tariffs, right? For me personally, DEI rollbacks, people sort of trying to just put you with billion-dollar brands and just like, you got to do as much as they do. No, I'm a small retail, like, I can't do that,
Yeah,
right?
it's not a realistic comparison. It's different worlds.
And say, no, everybody's going to be on the same level. No, right? There are real, we distribute our products now and ship from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa race massacre happened here that a lot of people don't even know about, don't even know this history, American history of a whole functioning multi-million dollar enterprise, Black-owned businesses that was burnt down by folks who just didn't want to see that succeed, right? And no recourse, no one ever paid back, no one ever getting the reparations or just that entitlement to what they deserve. And so I say that because when I think about my own struggles and barriers and things like that, I have also seen where in that concrete, I've still been able to bloom and come up. But I've had to always sort of had this crazy faith that no matter what it looks like, it can still be perfect for me and for us, and I can still do something. So when COVID happened in March of 2020, I was poised, ready to launch. I still launched. Everything I was doing was online anyway. I literally, again, abandoned the whole like brick and mortar deal, all of that kind of stuff. It was all about online for me. I was using AI already where you could fill out a quiz and get the right product for you, get the right recommendation. It's still on my website now. I was using virtual try on at the time. Like I was ready. When I say I was ready, I was ready. But the world was in turmoil. And I almost had this thing where like, maybe not now, because everybody, and then I remember sometimes, and again, to my own heritage and my own ancestors, sometimes joy and grief exist in the same place. And so I was like, you know what? It is so much happening, so much grief happening. I was like, but maybe I can bring the joy. And so I turned on my camera and started a Facebook Live on a Friday night from my daughter's bedroom. And you, Mariah, were saying you've been doing this podcast for 4.5 years. And I just applaud that because every Friday night from April 2020 to April 2024, I went live every Friday night on Facebook.
Wow. Wow.
Consecutively with my daughter.
Oh.
4 years old when we started, and was 8 years old when we kind of, and so we did that consecutively for 4 years and we built our community and did all these things. But I bring that up because I was like, if I can just bring joy, and then it built a whole community. So I just have to say, those are the things that I think about with LAMIK and what we had to do during 2020, but what it actually brought out of us. It really brought the best out of us as a company and me as a leader.
Yeah. I love that you shared that detailed kind of thought process behind it all, of obviously the timing with like going into e-commerce, having planned for it. And you mentioned, which I'm so impressed that you are using, quizzes powered by AI already and virtual try on and these new technologies that, some of the behemoths in the beauty industry don't even use right now. Right. So I think that speaks to your drive in wanting to give a great customer experience online. And I think that probably goes back to the brick and mortar experience and yourself as a founder of wanting to, share and give everything that you can through the online experience. And I want to hone in on what you said at first about being able to make that decision of putting all your eggs in the one basket. Because I think that is something that is a terrifying choice. And, the saying is don't do that. So making the decision to close your brick and mortar and then go fully into D2C, I think a lot of people would be apprehensive because if you've something that is successful and going well, and then to make the full faith jump into, but I realize for me to do this other thing well, I have to cut off this, this endeavor that I've worked so hard on and gotten it up to the point of being successful, but you saw, okay, I need to take this at scale. And, with LAMIK, then really grow it into a nationwide brand. And so I commend you for that, because as someone who is in this space, can see how easily, even with myself, where it's like, oh my God, where do you go? All the things, right? One foot in front of the other, you just take it day by day and you make the best decisions you can. It's very powerful. And I think our audience will really resonate with that. And then I want to dive into the Facebook community a bit, because I think the consistency is showing up on everyone on social media will feel this, where whether you're a consumer or whether you are, a brand owner or an operator in the tech space or whatever, it's just saturated. So how did you and we'll dip into our like acquisition conversation here a bit, because I think that is a great way to pull people in. How did you stand out with your Facebook Lives, and what was kind of like the reason as to why people were joining, or what was enticing? Was it you talking about just like your experience and why you were starting a brand and how it was going, or your relationship with your daughter and, what you wanted her to see, all of those things. Can you kind of give us like, I guess, your internal monologue, your internal thoughts around how you built out a community in Facebook?
Yeah. So for us, I think my daughter had a lot to do with it. I think that interaction, you know, many moms could feel that and could understand that and knew that for themselves. And then also, I think that, the fact that we made it truly exciting. We played music, we did the things, people got to know each other in the comments. Like it was all of that and acknowledging people. It wasn't like we were doing a live and it was just all about what we were doing. Like, oh, and I'm doing my makeup and I would do my makeup during the show. And even though I was doing that, but it wasn't all about that. It was about who was on the other side too. So people could ask questions and understand that they were not the only ones who had that question, or they were not the only ones going through that, or whatever the case might be. And they were not the only ones who did not know something. And so that's what we found in there. They actually formed their own Facebook group. So we have a Ladies Who LAMIK group, and they were formed through the comments. They said, we need a place to come and just sort of be around each other and know each other. And they started the Ladies Who LAMIK group.
I love that. That is so impressive. Cheers for you, like you for, having that and having people rally around your brand so much that that they have a separate community group
right,
to talk about it.
They started their own group, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And because I was so like, I can't have the bandwidth to create one, because when they said it in the comments, but they were like, no, we got to do it. And then they named themselves Ladies Who LAMIK and all the things. And so I am just so grateful that that happened and that I let it be. Try to control everything. And even with our products, we let our customers help name them and things like that. So just giving more release and not trying to hold everything in is something that the pandemic taught us too, and taught me when growing. And even now, we're digital first, online, sharing what happened from that. Ended up being from in my daughter's bedroom doing a Facebook Live to actually being on the Home Shopping Network. When that happened, our customers, they blew it up. They watched, they shopped, because they know they had something to do with it. They saw their fingerprint in it. And I think that when your customers can see their fingerprint in your success, it becomes their success.
I love that. And I might have that be like the title of the episode, honestly, of when your customers can have their fingerprints. One of the things that I am currently working on myself is also having a brand and running it on the side, testing out the things, just seeing what it looks like. And this is in the swim space. And so I very much have the similar mindset of like, if someone can see their fingerprint on something and have that moment of like, oh my God, my voice actually is being heard, especially beauty fits in this category. There's so much in it of like, how do you know what color to get and what looks right on your skin and your certain colors and your tone and like all of that game, right? Where it's like the learning educational phase. And then there's obviously the practical, how do you actually apply this makeup and use it correctly? And then there's also the like emotional or mental piece around it. And I think that in certain industries or certain sectors stands out more. And I see this now with swimwear, and then taking that to social media or groups that you're focusing on, of like bringing them into the conversation of like, is this something you also relate to? Why? Like, why is the market in this way? Why are there certain things that are neglected? Why have we been, kind of in this like lockstep with the industry at large? And I feel like exactly what you were saying too, I wasn't seeing the shades that I needed, and I needed a better, cleaner beauty brand to go to like not feel like it's really cakey on my skin and not feel constricted, all of those things. So I resonate with you in such a smaller level, because this is just something I'm starting out. But like, I even now am seeing the power of, if someone can see like, oh, like I said I wanted that edit, or I like that those words on the website should be this way because it makes more sense to me, and people like at large are like liking that comment a million times over, then it's like, oh yeah, why wouldn't I listen to that as a founder? Because it's really hard. Obviously, you like see something in your eyes and you're like, I want it to be this way because I love it. But the danger of like falling in love with something that is falling on deaf ears with your customers is also a really hard line to toe. So I love that you're kind of bringing that into the fold of like beauty, people naming it, like vote, do this thing. Like it can be, even if you're not working for the company, you are a part of it. And I think that's really powerful in your industry specifically, and it parallels nicely into other ones.
I all your eggs in one basket. Sometimes all your eggs are in one basket. Sometimes your eggs are in 8 different baskets. Sometimes your eggs are in. So I think that also things are temporary. And sometimes they are the temporary breakthrough that you need, or what have you, or the temporary shift that you have to take, or the temporary risk that you might have. So I do think that even with your customers, they can identify. It does not, you'd be surprised how much people look to brands and founders to identify. Even talking about with you, what you're working on the side and all those different things. Like, I just feel like people can identify, and people are looking for places to identify because of the polarizing social media that we all feed. Like if you just look at me in a snapshot, then you might look like she's got it going on. Look at her, right? But if you actually look at it and read some of the posts and actually like follow intently or listen to me here on a podcast or something, you're like, oh, it's really like this. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's really like that. And so I think that's the thing, because I've even told our customers, brought them on the inside of what things are really like. And I'm like, look, we're launching into retail, but it's not the launching into retail that you see others people do where they just go out into retail. I was like, we're launching online with JCPenney.com, right? We're launching online with them. That's not something that we're just able to go on all of their 400, JCPenney doors, beauty doors. It'll be a gradual sort of coming in. And we're the first brand to ever do like these in-store trunk shows with them. But it's a playbook that other independent beauty brands could use, to where you could do trunk shows in different stores and find out where it would be first to market for you and how you can scale and expand with them. We're doing that playbook for them. No other brand. And so even though I want to be the brand that, raises the $10 million and just goes out into the market, but for me, it's different. I haven't been able to raise that or whatever, but this sustainable growth that we're doing and launching in the way we are and doing these trunk shows and then launching into different stores and then growing from there. That's a way that's actually more attainable for folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that call out of this is how we've seen things really grow. And I think that to be able to say like, okay, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And it's going to be really cool. Like have this playbook that you are building out, and having that relationship there is awesome. And I think that lends nicely into I'm going to skip over acquisition because we've been sitting here and it's been amazing. And so I want to get right into retention and talk about some strategies. So I want to hear your thoughts on, let's start with like the trade show approach with JCPenney online. How are you kind of thinking about, okay, obviously we're testing the acquisition side of things, but how are you also testing the retention side of like, okay, we know this market might be our first, go to market with JCPenney, but how do you anticipate being able to measure retention of like, these are the people that, came and shopped with us in person or whatever the trade show looks like, or the trunk show looks like. How are you kind of tying that back into where to make those bets in retention and, put your eggs in that basket versus other ones?
So what we look at is we look at our D2C first, right? Mm-hmm. Because we have the data there. We're on JCPenney.com, we're on Nordstrom.com, and we're on Ulta.com, and we're in Hy-Vee stores, physical stores in the Midwest. And what we look at is our D2C. Our D2C is sort of like that place to tell us where people are coming from, where people are shopping from. And when we do different efforts and different events and different truck shows, like how is that follow-on happening? Where are we seeing the most dynamic sort of engagement? And then that tells us where we should go next, or where we should do a trunk show next, or where we should expand next. So and that kind of thing. And so we go a lot by, our D2C and where that data sort of shows. And retention wise, what are the products that are sticky? What are the products that are, got people coming back? What are people reordering? That's the data that we then use to know when we go into retail what we should put there. Because when you go into retail, look, they're not there to hold products, right? They're not a warehouse. They are a living, breathing place that has to continue cycle sell through products. So we want those products that we know they'll get the best sell through.
Yeah. And I think you made a great call out of it's not a warehouse. And I think a lot of the battle is focused on how do you get into retail, right? Like that is, shop talk, like every other conference is like getting into retailers, getting into retailers. And then you get that point and you're like, oh God, now I have to like move stuff on the shelf. And that's like the back end of the equation of like, once you get in, then you have to know how to move stuff because then you're going to be out real quick. So I would love to hear what, if you're willing to share, no pressure if you're not, but like what products do you find are the stickiest? How is that? How do you kind of, like what kind of rationale do you think is the stickiest? Is it, your brow duo set where it's people know like, you're known for that or whatever, kind of like focus through a little bit of the understanding of what is stickiest. What do you decide to put on a retail shelf first and kind of play around there?
Yeah, so because we have a pretty pretty finite SKU count, we don't have a really large assortment. That's another thing we're doing strategically is the way that we launch our products. So we have our Revelation Brow Duo, we have our brow gel, we have our mascara, we have our brow brush, and then we have our glow glosses. So usually with the retailer, we launch out the brow products first and the mascara. So that's 4 products. That's what we launch with them first. We bring in the glow gloss second. So we bring that in next. And then we have a new product that I can't share yet that we will be launching.
It'll be an Easter egg for our listeners.
And that we're launching, and we're gonna bring that in. And it's gonna complement the other products that we have. We found the top sellers in the Brow Duo. So in the Brow Duo, it comes in 15 different shade combinations. That's because it's the most inclusive brow product on the market. But there's about 5 that is like the go-to, most people wear that shade kind of colors. And with those shades, those are the ones that we make sure are fully stocked and people order more and are ready to go because those are ones that we see are very sticky and people move through. So we just find that people are replacing those products that we carry, and we don't carry a whole entourage of products, so it doesn't make it convoluted or really hard. And we found that, folks have in our retail endeavors that these glow glosses are going pretty fast and people are reordering because of their moisturizing, they're not sticky. But then there are only 6 shades. And it's like the 6 shades that you can use for, the different points in your life. And we just find that they are sticky. So we like to make our whole brand sticky. We don't do access and products and just have a whole bunch of stuff to have it. We seriously really think through what we have.
Mm-hmm. And like the quality of those products, it sounds like that's what I'm getting from you of like, okay, we're not going to just do something to do it. We're going to make it because there's something that's better about it and it's clean and has the brand ethos within it as a product, which I think is definitely one of the, I think me as a consumer, which is hard to know, right? Like what is quote unquote best because there's so many types of consumers. But for me, it's like I appreciate when it's done with intentionality rather than, just kind of chaotically pursuing things. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of the technology that you guys use in terms of retention. Obviously, you want to look at that data. But you mentioned like a quiz powered by AI. Obviously, that gives you a lot of first party data, the virtual try on. And I think looking through the technology that you use of like, okay, how can I better assess different parts of the customer experience and how to make them better is always interesting. So I will open that up to you of if you want to share like what your experience has been. It doesn't have to be naming certain companies, but just like, oh, I really like having this approach or having this as part of my tech stack is always, I know, really interesting for our audience loves to hear what everyone's using, right? We all just want to hear what our friends are doing.
Well, we're using Shopify for one, and right now we're using Klaviyo, and we're using, we're exploring some new things here. We love to use heat maps on our website, just to know where people are going on our website, how people are making decisions. We still love live shopping. So we also built that in as well. And then we have a custom blend foundation I didn't mention yet, but It's a very sticky product. It actually has nothing but 5-star reviews on our website, but it's something where customers upload a picture and they get the right foundation that matches their skin tone perfectly. And so that's something that we use on the back end that we do to where, people can upload their picture and get that experience, which they love. So, there's different things we use. We have an upsell app we use. We do subscription as well. So people are able to subscribe to products so they don't, take the chance of ever running out. But yeah, these are just some of the things that we do to make things better.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think I love that you called out subscriptions because obviously beauty is something that is inherent to subscriptions of like, okay, I want to just know that I don't have to think about this product and, I like what I like and I want to just make sure I always have it so you don't have that like, oh God moment when you go to use a product and you're like, oh my God, it's gone. Like I ran out of it. I need to reorder it. Now you're not going to have it for a little bit of time. So that makes a lot of sense that you have, all that and more in your tech stack. One of the things that I like to ask as we kind of round out the episode is, as a consumer, what do you love to see with the brands that you shop with personally in terms of customer retention? Like, do you love seeing, loyalty points or a VIP structure or, a letter from the founder? What are some of the things that you remember as a consumer with the brands you shop with?
Yeah, I do remember touch points from founders. I like to back folks and back people. So when I get the type of touch points from founders, that does resonate with me. Loyalty programs can, but I'm kind of aloof a little bit to loyalty because not that I'm not, I'm actually very loyal, but to remember to put in the code or to remember to do this, it's something that sometimes I don't do very well, but I know our customers, they like it. And that's something that actually we're going to look at for 2026. Um, um, but for me, it's that little bit of bagging people that gets
Mm.
me. I don't think I pretty much wear anything or do anything where people are not involved. Like, I can tell you where I got this hat from. I can tell you where I got these earrings from. I can tell you, where I got these glasses from. And the only reason why I have this dress is because I was on a trip and I think they lost my luggage or something. I just went somewhere and got something. But like pretty much everything I wear has a story. And so without that, it's not intriguing or interesting to me, or it's not something I can be proud of. And if I'm wearing something, I must be proud of it because I'm like sporting it. So that's the way I approach things and, just live my life, even for the services I use. So yeah, I'm more probably just knowing that I'm bagging folks and people. So the founder touch, the team, even if they have a touch in there like that probably resonates with me more.
Yeah, and I hear that. I am the same way, and that's why I've been loving I'm loving that we are kind of in step and how we kind of shop and move about the world. And I always like to tell like even like I love when gifts have a story too. Like if I'm not purposely shopping, but the people around me know, like, oh, I love if you're like going out and supporting someone locally or whatever, doing all the things, right? To give just a little bit more of a background to a certain item that you have in your life. So I have loved this conversation. Kim, thank you so much for joining. And thank you for saying yes to a stranger coming up to you at a conference. I'm so excited for our audience to hear this. And I know they're going to be looking, to see what you're going to do and what LAMIK is going to do, supporting. We do it all for our people. So thank you again for making the time.
Thank you. And thank you for having me, Mariah, and for valuing my voice. And make sure you follow us at LAMIK Beauty on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. And then I'm also available on LinkedIn, KIMROXIE.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kim.